Hi, I'm Susie Garden, and this is the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm an age-defying naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I'm here to bust myths around women's health and aging so that you can be ageless and awesome in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The Ageless and Awesome podcast is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with great health, a positive mindset, and outrageous confidence. Hit subscribe or follow now, and let's get started. Hello, gorgeous one, and welcome to today's episode of the Ageless and Awesome podcast. This is number 2 in my little weight loss over 40 series. And today I'm going to look at the top 5 mistakes I see with weight loss in women over 40. So yeah, that perimenopause stage and even postmenopause. Before I get into today's episode, this episode is sponsored by my signature program, the Glow Protocol, and here is just a little bit of information about it. How would you like to have increased energy, balanced hormones, glowing skin, and your ideal weight in just 3 months? Sounds awesome, right? Imagine having your very own hormone balancing and weight loss strategy totally personalized to you based on your body biochemistry to release excess weight, say goodbye to pesky perimenopause symptoms, and decrease inflammation in your body, which of course leads to decreased inflammaging. That's right, ladies, there are age-defying benefits as well. Oh, and of course, you have me at your fingertips for expert support so you never feel stuck or confused. I love supporting women on their weight loss journeys, and I've packaged up the award-winning Metabolic Balance Program with my signature hormone management system, giving you the Glow Protocol. This 12-week one-to-one coaching program is you and me, nailing down your health and weight loss goals, creating your personalized plan using your blood tests, a thorough health assessment, and your food preferences. And then we get started with me supporting you every step of the way. Even if you've tried everything, even if you have resistant weight and complex medical conditions, the power of personalized nutrition, mindset coaching, and my support is transformational and gets results. And I'm not even exaggerating, even if I do say myself. So if you're ready to embrace feeling like your younger self again, lose excess weight, manage health conditions, and regain your confidence, you can just DM me at Susie Garden Wellness or email me hello@susiegarden.com, and I'll pop a link in the show notes. Okay, so I've done this in no particular order. The first mistake I see with weight loss in women over 40 is a focus on calorie control, particularly these generic, 1,200, 1,600 calorie a day things that I see PTs in particular recommending for women. And it is just, really gets me annoyed because it is not taking into account the types of food that you're eating. The types of food you eat really, really matters, particularly when you're wanting to lose weight and particularly when you're a woman over 40. For example, fat is critical. Fat is critical for hormone health, and healthy fats are also shown to reduce risks of cardiovascular disease, to reduce inflammation, to improve cholesterol levels, and to help with blood sugar control and cravings and satiety and so many things. But guess what? Fat is high calorie. So if you're trying to fit in 1,200 calories a day, and believe me, I have tried to do this as part of a gym challenge, and fat is really hard to fit into a 1,200 calorie a day plan. So the types of food you eat matter. Calories should not come into it. Another example is cruciferous veggies. Cruciferous veggies support your liver health, and they are really important for hormone detoxification. So it's an important part of that hormone balancing in inverted commas process. So if you're just going by calories and not by the types of food, then you may not include these in your diet. Also, antioxidants, also fiber. All of these things are really important for managing weight loss, managing gut health, managing overall body health, so many things. My gosh, I could go on and on and on about this, and particularly even just on the calories out part of this equation, because you can't have calories in without having calories out if you're using this method for weight loss. And I can tell you now that, because I have worked with hundreds of women now in weight loss, and if you're really flogging yourself with exercise, with that mindset of, well, if I'm going to lose weight, I need to really, really do lots of heavy duty exercise, it can actually block weight loss. It can actually block weight loss. And I'm more often than not telling women to back off a little off that exercise, because it raises cortisol levels, which blocks weight loss. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. In fact, no, I'll talk about that now as, let's say, number 2 of my top 5 weight loss tips for women over 40. So it is related to cortisol, which is if you ignore stress, if you think, well, I've got all these things going on in my life and I can't do anything about it, so I just have to plow through, which, you know, we're women, we can do a lot, we can manage a lot, and we take on a lot. And that's all very well and good. But when you're in that stress response, your cortisol is raised. It's one of your stress hormones. And when you have raised cortisol, and the same happens when you really flog yourself with exercise, you go into that fight and flight response. And if your cortisol is raised, and of course it does need to be raised for a reason, okay, it does have a role. Obviously, otherwise the body wouldn't do it. But we don't want it raised for long periods of time. When we have this increased cortisol that's being raised for long periods of time, particularly with stress, it interferes with our blood glucose metabolism, all right? It increases our blood glucose level, which increases our insulin. It has this follow-on effect. And when we have high levels of insulin, it leads to increased fat storage. Insulin has a number of roles. One of them is it's our fat storage hormone. And when we have it raised cortisol, it also leads to sugar cravings. And it also leads to storing this fat as belly fat. And for most women, that's not particularly desirable. And in fact, if you're looking at health, when you're storing fat around that torso area, around the belly, that is called visceral fat. And it is absolutely an increased risk factor for heart disease, stroke, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so we definitely don't want to be doing that. So ignoring stress as part of a weight loss strategy is not going to work. And so if weight loss is a focus for you, then finding some strategies to manage your stress so that even though those stressors aren't changing, your perception of those stressors improves. And we do that when we do our deep breathing, when we spend time in nature, when we are mindful about the things that we do. And research supports all of this. Then we will manage our cholesterol, which manages our blood glucose and manages our insulin and helps to reduce that stored fat, particularly around the belly. So that's my second tip. Tip number 3, or the mistake number 3, is having a diet mindset versus a lifestyle mindset. And I did talk about mindset last week in podcast 1 about my weight loss tips for women over 40. And the mindset I'm talking about today, though, is a little different. Having a diet mindset, which what I mean by that is you're going to do this, whatever it is you want to do, whatever strategy you're going to do for your weight loss for a set period of time, whether that's 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever it is. Usually it's around 4 to 6 weeks that I see many people trying different things such as keto or paleo or intermittent fasting or whatever it is. Having that mindset that I just do this for this period of time, I reach my goal, and then I can just go back to doing whatever I was doing before. That again, doesn't really work. It is a mistake. When you are making changes to improve your health, to balance your hormones, to lose weight, achieve a certain weight loss goal, then you really need to look at things a little differently and think about it as part of changing your lifestyle. And that will get you long-term benefits. Now, it doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on a diet for the rest of my life. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having a plan that fits easily into your lifestyle, that you can follow long term because it's easy and it makes you feel good and it makes sense and it just fits in with your life. And you know that when you don't do that, when you don't have that plan, that you don't feel so good. Your energy is not great. Your sleep's not great. Your hot flushes are worse. You're accumulating belly fat. So it's having, rather than thinking of, I'm going to do this diet and then I'm going to be good. I'm going to have lost the weight and I'll be fine to just go back to doing what I was doing. Having a lifestyle mindset is, okay, how am I going to feel amazing and improve my health and at the same time achieve the weight that I want to be at in a way that's going to suit my lifestyle. And that is what I love about the work that I do is, yes, there are stricter parts of the program that I plan that kickstart that weight loss. And at the same time, we're building awesome habits and understanding so much about how the body works, how each individual's body works, that it does become just second nature and it becomes part of your lifestyle. And that's the difference between a lifestyle mindset and a diet mindset. Mistake number 4 for weight loss in women over 40 is confusing dehydration signals and hunger signals. This is really, really common. And I think most of us possibly know that hunger can sometimes mean thirst. And I think we all know that most of us need to drink more water. Most of us are probably dehydrated most of the time, particularly if you are in air conditioning, whether that's heating or cooling. That is incredibly drying. And even, I know we're kind of coming out of those cooler months now, but having the window open at night when it's dry air coming in can often just leave you feeling very dry and dehydrated. So making sure you're getting enough fluid on a daily basis is really important. And one of the weight loss tricks that I have is that if you're feeling hunger, or you think you might be feeling hunger, have a glass of water first. And if you are still feeling hungry, then yes, you're probably hungry, and then we do something about it. But I think a lot of the time, people confuse hunger and thirst signals. So, and again, spending a bit more time getting in touch with your body and its signals is a wonderful thing and really helps with this. All right, my 5th weight loss tip for women mistake that I see people making is about food timing. And this is quite a big topic, actually. There's a lot of information on the internet about this and a lot of conflicting information. And the mistake is eating multiple small meals a day instead of having 3 meals a day, 3 really beautifully balanced meals around 5 to 6 hours apart. And there's a few things that I want to say about this. And firstly, I will be the first to say there is conflicting research on this. However, I've read quite a bit of the research that's more recent, and I know what I see, what I've seen in myself, what I see in my clients, and I really feel that even though the evidence is kind of a bit wishy-washy, to be honest, what I'm seeing is having the 3 meals a day versus the multiple meals has a number of advantages. I mean, in terms, like, there's quite a bit of research. If you go searching, and I'm not talking about Google searching, I'm talking about searching in PubMed or Google Scholar, you will find a whole bunch of articles looking at each of those methods. And what I'm seeing is, in terms of weight loss and calorie intake, there doesn't seem to be a lot of difference. However, when you look at hunger levels, people that are having multiple meals a day versus 3 meals a day are reporting more hunger. And I think with weight loss, that's important and relevant. There was a research article from the University of Missouri, and I just pulled out a comment that said, our data suggests that for obese women, so again, a lot of these trials are not done in women. So bear that in mind if you are looking at data, have a look at the subjects. What is the proportion of female subjects? What is their age range? Look at all of that detail when you're looking at information in clinical trials and studies. But this University of Missouri study said that for obese women, eating fewer, larger meals may be more advantageous metabolically compared to eating smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. There are a number of reasons for this. We do know that when we have gaps between meals, that we get an increase in our insulin sensitivity. And this is really important because as we get older, unfortunately, that's why as we get older, the risk of diabetes increases, is our insulin doesn't work as well. We become a little more insulin resistant. If you become very insulin resistant, then you can get diabetes, like type 2 diabetes. So we want to improve our insulin sensitivity. And in fact, one of the first drugs that gets used if you're kind of along that pathway is something called metformin. You may have heard of this drug. And metformin is an insulin sensitizer. So it helps to make the insulin, to make the body rather more sensitive to the insulin that you're producing. And if we can improve our insulin sensitivity, then we decrease our diabetes risk. And we do know that spacing out the meals does increase our insulin sensitivity. That's a huge advantage. And also, when we're looking at other research, we know that during the 5-hour breaks between these meals, insulin falls down to low levels because insulin is secreted in response to the body eating. So when we take in food, we get signals that we need to produce insulin so that the glucose that gets into the bloodstream from that food can go into the cells where it's actually used. It's not really used in the blood. We want to get the glucose out of the blood and into the cell, and insulin does that. So when we're not getting glucose in, then the insulin falls to very low levels, and that enables fat to be burned easily. I've had so many clients say to me, I feel like I've been turned into a fat burning machine. And in fact, when they're really established on their program and they've hit their weight loss goal and then we want to go into maintenance, often they'll keep losing weight and we have to really kind of work hard to stop that weight being lost because they've turned themselves into this efficient fat burning machine. It's a really good problem to have, to be honest. So when you're having 5 or 6 smaller meals, which is a common weight loss kind of myth, I think, or when you snack in between meals, that insulin level just remains constantly high, which means your body is going to make fat and store fat rather than build muscle tissue. And also, continually high insulin levels block the production of many of our hormones that protect the body from inflammation and aging. So it is also a little age-defying strategy, which, if you've been following me for a while, you know that's a huge interest for me, is how to not so much live longer. I mean, longevity is of interest to me, but I want to live more healthy and be in my later years being more vibrant and enjoying myself, not being immobile and having a very kind of limited existence. So I want to keep my body strong. I want to keep my mind strong. And so, I have a big interest in these age defying. I've stopped using the word anti-aging because I don't like the connotations that it has. So I use the word age defying, which I love. So that's some of the science, I guess, around the benefits of having 3 meals a day rather than, 5 to 6 meals a day. But there are also behavioral benefits. And I think this is one of the keys, because we all know that behavior is a strong driver of our eating patterns. And often our behavior is what has led to weight gain. And when I'm talking about behavior, I mean behaviors around food that may be a little disordered eating patterns, using food as comfort, using food as reward, or using food as punishment, all of the things. It's very, very complex. But I think it's been shown that there are behavioral benefits to having these 3 meals a day rather than 5 to 6 meals a day. One is just not constantly thinking about food, because if you have 3 meals a day, generally speaking, you've planned them in advance so that you're making sure that the food on the plate is going to keep you satisfied for that 5 to 6 hours in between your meals. So you're not constantly thinking about food, and you're eating more mindfully, because let's face it, when you're in that snacking mentality, it's often, and believe me, I was a massive snacker before I studied metabolic balance nutrition, which is obviously the program that I run. When I did that training, it really changed my mindset around how I manage my own food intake, and I've seen huge benefits from doing that. And eating more mindfully, because let's face it, when you go to snack, you go, I'm a bit hungry, I'll go and have a snack. You literally will go and open the pantry or open the fridge and have a look and go, ooh, what can I have? Right? Am I right? I think I am. And so it just becomes, what's in there? I'll have that, rather than thinking about what your body actually needs. And often, if you're anything like me, when you're in that kind of place where you're a bit hungry and you're like, I need something now, you just kind of eat anything. So when we're having our 3 meals a day, you do tend to eat more mindfully, and that improves digestion. It improves our food choices. And this, again, is all based in science. Also, one thing which I think is really important too is it avoids decision fatigue. So decision fatigue happens when you have to make multiple decisions over and over again each and every day. And even little things like what you're wearing every day. Like a lot of people like myself that work from home, and I do this a lot. I mean, remember too, I started my career in a uniform, in a nurse's uniform. So I never had to think about what to wear to work, which made my life actually pretty easy. But then you kind of get sick of that. So, you kind of don't want to wear a uniform so much. But now that I work from home, I have found it's much easier for me to have a uniform in inverted commas, where I have like certain clothing that I just wear as my work gear. If you listen to the podcast with Jane Moe, the stylist, a few weeks ago, if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to that one. It was really fun. We talked about that when you're working from home, not, getting kind of sitting in the tracky pants every day, or if you are, elevating that. So I've got comfortable clothes that I wear for work, but I know it's pretty much the same thing. Not the same thing every day, but it's a very similar thing that I have these clothes so I don't have to make a decision about what to wear, and it saves a lot of time and it saves my brain space. So when you're avoiding decision fatigue around food, it's really important when it comes to weight. When it comes to weight, it's easier when you have boundaries around what to eat. But if you have less decisions to make, you get better results. And generally, again, you've planned it. This is, again, some science behind this. Last point I want to make on this is about snack foods. So snack foods are notoriously unhealthy compared with main meals. And that is another reason why having 3 meals a day rather than 6 small meals or snacking in between meals is fantastic for weight loss and also health. So I think that's all I want to say about this. I'll just recap some of the top 5 mistakes that I see with weight loss in women over 40 are relying on calorie control rather than the quality of the food that you're eating, having a diet mindset instead of a lifestyle mindset, ignoring stress versus having strategies to address your stress on a daily basis, confusing dehydration and hunger, and also eating small meals a day, multiple small meals a day versus having 3 meals a day with roughly 5 to 6 hours between meals. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Have you had other things that you have found that have been huge mistakes when it comes to weight management? I'd love to know. Please feel free to DM me at Susie Garden Wellness or email me hello@susiegarden.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I would love it if you would leave me a review. It's so hard to get people to leave reviews, and it just really makes it worthwhile for me to continue to bring this content to you free of charge. I love doing it, and at the same time, I would love to get your feedback. So yeah, have a great week. I'll be back on Thursday with answering one of your questions. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Ageless and Awesome podcast. If you liked today's episode, please make sure you click the little plus button if you're on Apple Podcasts or the follow button if you're on Spotify so that you can get each new episode delivered to you every single week. If you like free stuff, and who doesn't, then head over to susiegarden.com and grab my 8 essential age-defying secrets every woman over 40 should know right now. Or if you'd like to continue the discussion, head over to Instagram and DM me at Susie Garden Wellness. I'd love to connect with you.